Hey there, I'd like to preface this video with a quick message. If you want to see this movie, don't watch this video. Despite my opinion on this film, I sincerely believe that it should be seen in the theater. Original sci-fi needs to be supported, and as a creative mind, I really want it to be rewarded as much as possible and make as much money as it can. With that being said, full spoilers for The Creator. The Creator. It's the second mid-budget sci-fi movie released this year, coincidentally also bombing at the box office. Unlike that movie 65, The Creator had a, let's say, more formidable team behind it. So, what's the story behind The Creator? Produced by Disney's little darling baby child, 20th Century Studios, it follows a man and an AI child as they seek to destroy an ever-growing threat to AI in the form of a space station that can just find you and nuke you no matter who you are or where you stand. If you're seen as, surface level bad, you'll be obliterated. Kind of like the US military. The production on this film is genuinely interesting to learn about. The film was shot with a guerrilla crew on the Sony FX3, a lightweight enthusiast camera costing around $3,000. The decision to do so was made for budgetary reasons, as it is an original film, and I doubt Disney had much confidence in this film from the beginning. Greg Fraser of Dune and Batman fame was brought on as cinematographer, but dropped out to do Dune 2, so Oren Soffer stepped up and acted as cinematographer on set while consulting with Fraser. They both have co-cinematographer credits. The film also features extensive effects work from the impeccable Industrial Light and Magic, who just put in so much work that just goes unnoticed. Like, the robots look photoreal in every scene they're in. It was directed by Gareth Edwards, he of the best Disney Star Wars movie, and written by Edwards and the guy who directed this thing. To be honest, they're a pretty good writing duo, although Rogue One was reshot a bunch and its ending is definitely not what was initially intended. They're really good at concepts and story beats, and this time they actually wrote really compelling characters, something that was criticized as missing in Rogue One. It's Edward's first film in 7 years, but that didn't really slow him down. He brings his A game and visual eye to the film as well, something he probably gets from his time as a visual effects artist. It also didn't go through reshoots, something I will talk about in a bit. This resulted in a very pretty and expensive looking movie, by some accounts looking in the $200 to $300 million range, being made for about $80 million after tax breaks. Something that I hope encourages studios to invest in mid-budget original sci-fi, as Star Wars Tank is just about empty and that Star Trek IV thing has been in development hell since 2016. So, unlike 65, I actually managed to see this movie in theaters, on opening weekend no less. And I've gotta say, I get where some critics are coming from, but there's some stuff here that I don't understand the praise for. Okay, I don't want to be completely negative out the gate. There's plenty of good stuff here. The direction, cinematography, effects, locations, and overall feel is all cranked to 100. All of it. Also, the characters are great, and the actors make this world feel grim, gritty, and lived in. John David Washington is fucking awesome in the lead role, and even if I fear he may be typecast, this isn't a bad role to be stuck in. He's phenomenal. Speaking of phenomenal, I don't think I've seen a debut performance as good as Madeline Yuna Voiles. She puts in the work in this movie, and I can't say enough about how good she is. The rest of the cast is also really great. This world feels fundamentally broken in a way even sci-fi like Terminator never captured. Everyone's bitter, either missing people or missing body parts. Hell, this movie is PG-13, but I tell you, if there was more focus on some of the horrific shit that's done to the simulants, this would be the most R-rated thing ever. Not to mention that this probably holds the record for the most F-bombs in a PG-13 movie. This thing has 5 of them, albeit 2 are in another language, but still, 3 audible F-bombs in English in a PG-13 movie is insane to think about. I honestly love that a movie is decidedly not intended for the 7 to 12 audience, but is still contained in a way that allows for more mature audiences in the 13 to 18 demographic to enjoy. Now, with all that out of the way, it's time to do what I try not to do all the time, but I really have to get it off my chest because I've been sitting on this for a month. The creator has a rough screenplay. That's probably the universally agreed upon notion with this movie. It didn't have any rewrites or reshoots, and I think that was to the film's detriment. I understand why it wasn't done, both for budgetary reasons and maintaining Edward's creative vision, but still, there's a few things here that I really don't like. First off, let's start with the name of the movie. The Creator. That's such a bland-ass vanilla name. I mean, it is better than its original title, True Love. Who thought of that? But come on, man. Adding to that, there's already an even better title contained within the movie. There are 3 title cards in the film: the child, the mother, and the friend. First of all, I don't mind if you want to be arthousey, and it's a choice that's not mine to make. But if I was editing this film, I wouldn't have put those in. In my opinion, they all just grind the pace to 405 South on a Thursday afternoon. Additionally, the titles are kind of off to the right, with a fancy screen off to the left that says on all 3, Alt, Nirmata. Now, what does Nirmata mean? Nirmata is Nepalese for the creator. You know what sounds way more interesting and cool than the creator? Wow, you guessed it, super genius. Nirmata does. Okay, title out of the way, now I have to talk about the start of the film because it's rough for a bit. Throughout, the pace is kind of really hit or miss up until the finale. We start in a news info dump and then a prologue, and then after the prologue, we skip to 5 years later where the film actually starts. And I have a few thoughts about this that I'll get to. The prologue is pretty good. It sets up the world and characters and ends in a pretty good way with people getting obliterated by that ultimate Huey blasting Fortunate Son. I think the time skip to show what's going on in Joshua's life after is good and shows where he's at as a character. He's then immediately recruited and they go to the thing and find the girl. And then shit goes sideways and he takes her. Now, to be honest, I don't remember if it's explained why Joshua takes Alfie in the first place. Is it because he's bitter with the Western world, or maybe he's bitter at the government for bombing his pregnant wife? I don't know. Up to now, everything's pretty good. Interspersed throughout the entire movie are these really random flashbacks to Joshua's time with Gemma Chan, and I know that it works better as a flashback as it's really quick, but I feel like there could have been an up-style montage of them falling in love and showing Maya's compassion towards the simulants. This is probably the issue that I don't really have a concrete remedy for. I feel like it could have been workshopped in the edit a little bit. We then visit other characters for a cat and mouse game that gives some more moments to humanize the simulants, but also shows how awful the humans like Alice and Janny are. This is where it's also revealed that Maya is the mother, or Nirmata, of Alfie. They then escape and get captured by Ken Watanabe, and the last story beat pretty much just happens again. I think what they did in the big city could have just been rewritten and integrated into the jungle setting just fine, and there's plenty of opportunity to showcase the humanity in these robots, as well as them getting unfairly terminated for simply existing. This is also where it's revealed that human error caused a nuke to go off in Los Angeles that caused the war between humans and AI to begin. I have mixed feelings on this because on one hand, it's not given the dramatic wham you'd think it should get, But on the other hand, it really fits with this world. Because, of course, humans did something wrong and are using it to punish and oppress simulants for something that they didn't do. But I still think it should have been given more of a grim or dramatic reveal. So add that to the big tank and bridge battle to tighten the two threads up, and we smooth out the screenplay so that we get the first of 2 action scenes out of Act 2 instead of a sluggish 3. Okay, so then the characters go to Maya, who somehow survived a nuke until now. While the circumstances of her survival are slim at best, it leads to the utterly heartbreaking revelation that the simulants can't let her die. So she's just been sitting in a coma for 5 years in limbo. John David Washington breaks your soul as he says goodbye to her and pulls the plug. 10 out of 10 don't change a fucking thing. So, now we hit a point where the movie should be speeding on a track to the finale. But it weirdly doesn't. Alfie and Joshua are captured and brought back to LA, where Alfie is supposed to be executed, and to be honest, I think the screenwriters just needed a way to get them back to LA so that they could use the spaceport, because this kind of grinds the pacing to a halt again. This is the point where everything should be building and compounding into this emotional explosion of action. Why not have them just take a transport that's shown in the movie to the spaceport and just skip the obvious twist that Alfie didn't actually die? It kind of just serves to waste time for a little bit, which kind of frustrates me. So now we get to the finale, which I think is pretty great. I don't really have anything to say other than a couple of the action beats could have been shortened, especially the bit where Joshua is climbing on those missiles. It feels like they just wanted the characters doing 4 or 5 different things at once when 2 or 3 would have sufficed. Like, have Joshua temporarily shut down the station by ripping some wires out or something, and then divert forces while Alfie shuts down the station completely and on the way to the escape pods finds Maya's simulant body and activates it. The bit with Alfie's escape pod is pretty cliche at this point, but I think it worked fine with the powerhouse acting going on. Then the station blows up. I love the stuff between Joshua and Maya, and I get why there wasn't too much time spent on them together in their last moments. I know it would have drawn comparisons to Rogue One, but I really would have liked to see them in a final embrace and consumed by an explosion to nail home that they're dead. Because they die. So then we get to the ending. Alfie lands on Earth. The simulants are celebrating the destruction of the means to their oppression. It's happy, but it's too happy. Alfie gets out of her pod and just smiles at the people and simulants around her. And I guess in a way it works. She's happy that the war, the thing she was created to end, is over. But nah, fuck you and your happy feelings. I want to feel something different. Alfie just lost both of her parents in the destruction of the space station. She has no direct family left. She should be wrecked emotionally, grieving, in anguish, hysterical. People, human and simulant, rally around her to comfort her. Then, sometime later, an epilogue. Alfie is living with the others that we met who survived. Maybe on a beach similar to the one that her parents lived in. She's in high spirits, having a late get-together, but she wants some alone time. She walks to her room and looks at one of those holo pictures that Joshua had, but this time it has a picture of Joshua and Maya. She breaks down a little and walks onto a balcony, looking up into the sky, and with tears still streaming down her face, a look of comfort comes over her. Earlier in the film, Alfie and Joshua have a conversation about heaven. Joshua says it's a peaceful place in the sky where good people go after they die. Alfie concludes that neither of them will get to heaven because Joshua is not good and Alfie is not a person. But Joshua did something good. He helped end the violent oppression of simulants across the world. Alfie, through what we've witnessed with her, knows that humans aren't always bad. Joshua taught her that, and so did Maya. Their compassion has formed her, and now it's her turn to grant her parents some humanity. We end on a shot of her just looking into the night sky. She now believes that Joshua, despite what he said and believed, is up there, in that peaceful place in the sky. And then we cut to black, asking the audience their answer to the unspoken second part of that conclusion. It's for you to decide. Is Alfie a robot, or is she a person?